the next core module of Asian Business Dimension is we call it cash fund management. So the premise of this module is because it is a common business practice in most of the companies in the Philippines to establish funds for companies' daily operational expenses. And this enables the employees to request cash advances, payment requests, and even reimbursements for business purposes. Although these expenses, however, needs to be monitored and accounted for properly. That is why we have created this specific or developed this module to monitor, especially if the company has a lot of cash advances, a lot of pet cash custodians, and a lot of requests for payments being monitored. So this module is actually divided into 3 different modules. So we have cash advance and liquidation, request for payment, and fund management or fund accounting, both for petty cash and revolving fund. So let's discuss this one by one. So the first one is the cash advance and liquidation. So a cash advance is a request of an employee for an anticipated business expenses to be incurred in a specific period of time. And this is always subject for liquidation upon incurrence of expense. For example, the employee will be sent for, or the salespeople will be sent for outside appointment or field appointment or trainings and seminars, other employees for trainings and seminars. So we have to give them a fund for them to use in that particular events. But after happening each event, they have to also liquidate the expenses they incurred. That is to properly account if they really purposely spend their funds to the specific purpose of that request. So this is I have here prepared a standard cash advance and liquidation process flow. So basically it emanates from a creation of cash advance request. It also comes with a cash advance printable form. Then this is a very new functionality in the cash fund management or those existing clients with employee fund management before. Actually, the name of the module before from 2018 R2 to 2019 R2 is employee fund management. But on the 2020 R2 release, we have renamed the module into cash fund management because we have incorporated a lot of additional functionalities here. Now, in the 2020 R2 version, we have a budget validation. So both for financial and project budget. Say, for example, if the client has a project accounting license, if they would still like to validate if the project is within if that request or that expense is still within the project budget distribution, then we can also validate it from this process. And we also support the standard approval of Acumatica, and we are seamlessly integrated with the accounts payable module of Acumatica, as well as, of course, the liquidation would entail creation of APB and application to the prepayment. This is also integrated to the expense management integration. Actually, we just make an enhancement on top of the expense management module. This is for us to still take advantage of any enhancements, if ever, that Acumatica would release into this very useful module. So the other one is the request for payment. So request for payment or request document for employees reimbursements, or even it also serves as a request for a non-purchase order transactions. Because as we all know, Acumatica's requisition management by standard is intended for all the requests subject for purchasing. But there are also requests that we need to record and we need to monitor, but that is not subject for purchasing. So we have incorporated that kind of requirement also in this request for payment. So the standard request for payment process flow is as follow. So basically it emanates from the creation of request for payment. So Acumatica is unlimited users, and we would like to take advantage of that functionality. That's why this is very useful. We can give all our employees within our organization an access to create whatever request they would like to request. A cash advance, a request for payment, or even a petty cash transactions request with cash advances. So from here, they can create request for payment. It also comes with a readily printable request for payment form. It also has a budget validation both for financial and project budget. It also supports approval and seamlessly integrated to the accounts payable module. We also localize printable check vouchers, so it also comes in the package. So if you would like to if you would like to utilize or use the localized check voucher and AP voucher of cash fund management. Then the last sub-module of cash fund management is we call the fund accounting. Actually, this is a fund accounting for petty cash and revolving fund. So fund accounting, and actually it's not only in the Philippines, but I think it's a standard that it has two major classification, the impress and the fluctuating fund, handling of fund. But the most common use of handling fund is the impress system. That's why this functionality is compliant only with the impress fund management system. So basically, the process of petty cash and revolving fund follows the same principle. The only difference of this one is the value of the fund being maintained, because petty cash fund, as the name suggests, is established for petty expenses or small expenses, while revolving fund are established for more than that of the petty cash fund being maintained. So this is the standard process flow. We have to establish the fund for our custodians. This is unlimited regardless of your number of custodians. Say for example, you have 200 branches, and for every branch you have a dedicated petty cash or revolving fund custodian, so we can maintain as much as your business policy would need. Then we can give all our employees an access to create petty cash fund requests or reimbursements out of our petty cash. If you are planning to go digital and paperless, so Acumatica, I think, is a very good option. And availing of this cash fund management, if ever, would also optimize all the transactions of your employee-related transactions, especially that of the petty cash fund. Then it also supports approval. Then the cash releasing is only intended for the custodian, so we have an access and control for that. We can automatically print a liquidation form. The liquidation and the expense receipts and expense receipts liquidation is seamlessly integrated to the existing expense management. And of course, we also created a dedicated screen for replenishment, because this screen is dedicated for our petty cash custodian. And all of the foregoing transactions are also integrated to our Philippine Taxation module. So all the claiming of input VAT and withholding taxes that I mentioned earlier is also incorporated in this module. Okay, so without a lot of explanations now, let's drop into Acumatica and see how we can transact all of these foregoing transactions from here. So let me just refresh my screen once again. So the first thing that I have to show you is the first submodule of cash fund management, which is the cash advance and liquidation. So we have created a dedicated screen for cash advance. Unlike if for our existing clients who has employee fund management, we have a different suite or a module in the Acumatica, but now we have incorporated this cash advance inside the accounts payable module, because after all, cash advance is really part of the accounts payable post or monitoring. So let's say, for example, I have here created a cash advance request for an upcoming 2020 Acumatica hackathon. Okay, so I am requesting, although I am just requesting an office supplies worth this much. So I'm holding this one. As you can see, it supports the standard approval of Acumatica. So I have to save this one. And as you can see, there are a lot of warnings being displayed on my cash advance request screen. So these are all enhancements from the existing employee fund management if you are an existing user or client of employee fund management. So we have here, first, we have a set of, we have a warning, or actually it can be a warning or it can be a restriction if you would like to limit the allowable CA amount per employee. Because in the employee profile, we have here created additional settings, so we can set up the maximum CA amount per employee and the allowable or tolerable open cash advance, meaning these are unliquidated cash advance request that we can only tolerate for this kind of or for this specific employee. So we have that, and we can also just put a setup or configuration who are only the employees that can create cash advance requests. So these are all new functionalities in the existing cash fund management for our existing clients. Because as we all know, every time that Acumatica would release another version, we are also releasing another version of our localization, and that means we have incorporated a lot of enhancements. Basically, those enhancements are coming from customer requests. That's why we have just incorporated here because we want to eliminate the boundaries and the gaps in their existing in their existing processes. So aside from that, you can see that there is a warning sign that we have already exceeded the maximum allowable CA amount. We have also a warning saying that this employee has already reached the maximum open CA allowed. And we have here also a budget validation. So this is also new to the existing cash fund management. We have a budget validation now for cash advance. So this budget validation is from our release GL budgets posted in our Acumatica. So let's say, for example, I'm holding this one. If this request is pertaining to a specific project, let's say, for example, this is part of internal 20 project, and I would like to track expenses arising from this project. And I have to also incorporate the other required fields for our project accounting monitoring. So that project task, and cost code. If I save this one, as you can see, another tab is being displayed, which is the project budget details. Although there's no warning, meaning that we are still within the project budget. So we have also incorporated those kind of validations in our module. Okay. So let me process this one. So I have to save this one. It will be pending for approval. So for demo purposes, I just set my user as an approver of this cash advance. So I'm hitting approve. And from here, the accounts payable department can now create an accounts payable bill for this one. So when I hit this one, automatically Acumatica will create a prepayment type document in the bills and adjustments. So you have an option if you would like to automatically release this one. So in my example, I have a configuration set up to enable automatically releasing of the prepayment document in the bills and adjustments. And of course, this follows the same or the standard processes in issuing check. We have to issue a check, so we have to pay this one. If there are withholding taxes, VAT implications in the transactions, we can also incorporate it into this transaction. So let me just put a check amount here and then release this one. So when I hit release, automatically with the cash advance request will now be subject for or will change status, which is now pending for liquidation. So come liquidation, what the employee will have to do, this is still integrated with the expense management. So on the receipts tab, we can click load, and automatically all the requested items will be displayed from here. If you would like to do it from this page, you can do so, or you can also directly go into the expense receipt and do your liquidations from there. So I'm hitting add, and then of course I have to incorporate my date as of today. And then if you would like to put you have tax implications, for example, you have to claim input VAT or withholding tax on the transactions, you can also put it here so that it would follow the same principle I have shown you earlier during Philippine Taxation module, wherein we can still claim that input VAT or input taxes and even withholding taxes arising from that kind of transactions. But for this one, I will not be just, for simplicity, I'll be not encoding a lot of Philippine taxation implications from here. Although I will show you later how it looks like if we have VAT or withholding tax for these transactions. So after that, we'll just have hit submit, and automatically it would create an expense receipt. This expense receipt is the expense receipt of the expense management of Acumatica. So after liquidating our expense receipt, so the employee or the accounts payable department can now process the liquidation through this one. So we also have a request class if you would like to classify the request. So if, for example, you have different types of cash advance, let's say you have company programs, marketing cash advances, trainings and seminars, something like that. So you can also configure that per transaction. So you can generate a report at the end of the month. What type of request has been usually being requested by my employees, and what type of cash advances consumed a lot of expenses during the month or for the year, something like that. Okay. So, for example, I'm liquidating this one, a marketing, and then liquidation of Acumatica. Okay, so I'm just adding add receipts from here, and I have to select my expense receipt that I have liquidated. So I just have to hit save, and then from here you can print a liquidation form. This is the standard look and feel of the printable forms. It actually follows the same printable form for cash advance requests. Then after which it can be subject for approval. So let's submit this one and then approve also. And then releasing this one will automatically create a bills and adjustments. And once this liquidation has been released, it is also automatically applied to the existing prepayment document in our accounts payable module. So come at the end of the month, if you would like to know how what are the open cash advance. Okay, let me show you how the so okay now the status will now be closed because it's now fully liquidated. So at the end of the month, if you would like to generate of your unliquidated cash advances, so we also have incorporated a cash advance monitoring report. So the one who is assigned to this to accruing all the unliquidated cash advance can just generate this report and report it in Acumatica. So let's hit this one. So as you can see, we have here the list of unliquidated amount per employee and per department. So you have an option, you can send it automatically to an email, or we can create business events on automatic notification to the employees that they have not yet liquidated their cash advances. So this is to lessen the chances that the ARC advances account in our financials will be bloated, because we really have to account for this cash advances account for what specific expenses are these transactions have been really incurred, because after all, these are companies' cash. That's why we have to properly account for that. And then the other module is the request for payment. So the request for payment in Acumatica can cater both of the request of the employee and request for our non-purchase order vendors. So let's say, for example, I have to create a request for payment of my utilities or my internet bills for the month. If I have to do it, or if I have to encode it in the standard requisition management, I can still do so. But the problem is that the only way to close that request is for us to generate a requisition out of that one. But this request is not specifically intended to be PO. It's just intended to be directly bill or directly AP invoice to our Acumatica. So in order for us to cater that kind of requirement, so from here, I have created, for example, this request for payment for internet bill. I have looked up. This is the expense claim standard of expense management. We have just do a little tweaking and enhancement on the screen. So we can specify from which vendor are we going to bill this. And when we just have to follow the standard Acumatica process in the expense claim. We have to process a submit. If it's subject for approval, we have to approve it. So it's pending for approval. Let me approve this one. And when I release this, automatically it would create a bills and adjustments, which will be subject for the standard preparation of check. If we have, for example, request for payment intended for reimbursements of our employees, these are reimbursements not coming from our petty cash or revolving fund. This is just a request for payment without any funding sources. So the employee can still log into the Acumatica expense claim, fully indicate what are the details of the request for payment. If there are tax implications, the VAT and withholding tax, it also caters all of the transactions that I have mentioned earlier during the fill tax. So I have to submit this one. It's reloading my page. So basically, it follows the same principle. You just have to submit it for approval, and then when you release it, it will automatically create an accounts payable voucher, which can be now processed through the check preparation or our checks and payment screen. Okay, so the next core submodule of cash fund management is the fund management or fund accounting for both petty cash and revolving fund. So we have here establishment of funds. So let's say, for example, we have, as I mentioned earlier, you have 200 branches and you maintain 200 custodians for each branch. So we can establish all of those custodians in the funds. We can also set a replenishment limit. So for example, if the fund of this custodian reaches 50% already, the custodian as well as the requester will be warned that the fund has already reached the replenishment point. So this is a signal for the custodian that he or she has now to replenish the funds so as to maintain the maintaining balance of the petty cash or revolving fund. So out of these funds, we can process fund transactions. So the fund transaction in Acumatica has actually two types. Let me open this another page. Okay. So we actually have it to, let's look for the existing fund, example this one. You can opt to request a request or a cash advance out of the petty cash or reimbursement. So the difference between these two is that this request or cash advance is not yet supported by any receipts. The reimbursement, however, the employee has already a receipt for as a proof of the expenses incurred and has to reimburse it to the custodian. Let's say, for example, I am requesting a cash advance request out of the petty cash for the meals representation. So on the document details, you just have to add the item wherein this meals will be associated. So let's say this one, and then I have to just incorporate here the amount of my my request. So as you can see, there is still a budget validation from here. So what goes budget validation to the cash advance request for payment also works the same way for the petty cash and revolving fund. So although petty cash fund is intended for small expenses, but if you have consolidated at the end of the month all the petty cash expenses, that might still be quite substantial amount, and we have to properly account for that expenses. That's why we also created a specific solution to handle that. So the employee can create a request out of this fund transaction, may it be a cash advance or reimbursement. They can the custodian has the only control in releasing the cash. So releasing this cash, meaning the custodian fund is also decreasing in amount. So let's say, for example, let me check the fund ID. Let's see if my request has been updated into this fund. I'm looking at the fund profile, and I'm looking at a fund number 52. So say, for example, this one. So as you can see, all the foregoing transactions or requests that I am encoding within my funds is automatically being updated into this fund profile. So we can also generate a voucher form from here. So this is the look and feel of the petty cash voucher, and the revolving fund voucher looks like the same way. It has just a different report title out of that one. So if you would like to, go paperless, supports Go Green program, you can opt not to print it to a paper, instead you just generate it from Acumatica. And then aside from that, at the end of the month, of course, we have to prepare a replenishment. So let's say, for example, and I have to select a pre-existing document, I think, yes, because we are almost running out of time. Okay, let me check. Okay. So for example, at the end of the month, I as a custodian would be liquidating all or creating a replenishment for all the liquidated receipts. So I just have to click on the add receipts, which is coming from the expense receipt. it will automatically populate all the details from here. If I would like to still claim the input VAT arising from that expenses, employee transaction expenses, I still can do that. And from here, I can print readily available replenishment report. So this already includes that of claiming input VAT of all that expenses being incurred out of your petty cash or revolving fund. So basically, that's the end-to-end high-level overview of the functionalities of cash fund management system.
There is another question. Is withholding tax upon creation of prepayment via checks and payments also available?
Yes, that is supported. Actually, that is a new enhancement from I think 2019 R2 down to 2020 R2. So we have already incorporated. You can now withhold upon the prepayment document of Acumatica.
Okay, then is the request for payment available in mobile? We already answered it. Yes, it's supported.
Yes, all of the foregoing cash fund management, including the request the request transaction screens, is part of the package.